When you become a new manager, I assume you want to be a successful manager. And I think a good model to look at is what we've seen in our past. So I want you to think of the worst and the best manager you ever had. The one who brought the best out in you, and the one who brought the worst out in you that you wouldn't want to have to work for again. And when we think about those two sets of people, and I've done this with my seminar groups over the years many times. So I've gotten a sense of what the common descriptors are for each of those that come from most folks. Under the worst boss we've ever had is unreasonable. They just have no sense of what's reasonable and what's not reasonable. They're micromanagers. They look over your shoulder. They try to tell you exactly how to do everything you're supposed to do, and then they're right there to follow up and make sure you did it. And they just won't let you kind of cut you loose and do your job. Stingy with benefits and pay and praise. Just kind of a stingy person. Poor communicator, doesn't inform you, keep you advised of what's going on. Disorganized. Can't seem to get her act together, and can't even remember where she put her glasses. Absent. That one comes up a lot. Now that can be good and bad, I guess. You can, if you're kind of on your own and know what you can do, and you're empowered to do it, then if your boss is absent, that's okay. But otherwise, it's good to have that person around. Just a bit. Woo, excuse me. I got those allergies. Um, Unfair. Now, this is the one comes up a lot. A perception that this person doesn't practice or doesn't have a sense of fairness in making assignments and awarding rewards of any kind, including promotions and praise and all that kind of stuff. Just unfair. Um, Plays favorites, which kind of goes along with that. And this one comes up a lot. Some form of the word jerk. So those are some pretty common ones I see that describe the bad managers that we've had. And if you think back about a manager you've had that you wouldn't want to have to work for again, my guess is one of these descriptors fit. Or you can add to the list if you like. I'm sure you've got some special names for some of the bosses you've had in your life. Now, on the other side are the good managers, and they tend to have clear goals. They tend to empower people and trust them to get the job done. They tend to be generous and good listeners, so that when they sit down and ask you your opinion, they truly do listen and try to act on it. And they're well organized, they're available and around, they're fair, and they're fun. Now, those are pretty common descriptors. Now, when I look at these two lists, or any two lists that I have created with input from people in my seminars, um, I have to say that, I'm a manager and have been one for 35 years, managing other people. Um, and I assume that you're in that role as well. I'd have to say that all of us, you and me, we belong over. Just a moment. We belong on this side right here. This is us. We have clear goals. We empower. We trust. We're generous. We're good listeners. We're organized. We're available. We're fair, and we're fun. And it's all of those bad managers over here who are unreasonable, micromanagers, stingy, poor communicators, disorganized, absent, unfair. They play favorites and they're jerks. Huh. I don't know. I got to tell you, as I look at these two lists, I am guilty of some of the things on that left side. I know I'm not unreasonable usually unless I'm pressing a deadline and my staff isn't pulling it together the way I need to have them pull it together, and I may insist that they stay late to get it done. That's happened on a couple of occasions. Now, fortunately, I've built up enough credit with them that it was okay. Which is the flip side of being unreasonable, is you can be unreasonable if you have enough credit. That generally you're a good boss and they will forgive you for putting the demands on you. I know I'm not a micromanager unless I'm worried about how it's going to be done. And then the person I am assigning the work to, they may think I'm micromanaging a little bit. My daughter works in my company, and occasionally she says, "Stop micromanaging me, Dad." um, I don't think I'm stingy. I am, and I know I'm a professional communicator. This is how I make my living. I do seminars around the world on management topics, and I've been doing it for over 30 years. So I would say, yes, I'm a good communicator, except actually in my own business and with my own staff, I'm pretty poor. I drive my assistant crazy because I'll change things on the plan or my travel plans, and I forget to tell her. And it just drives her nuts. She ready to strangle me most of the time. Because I lack that one, and I have to work on it. I know I'm somewhat disorganized. I am absent all the time, but that's the nature of the work I do because I'm on the road all the time. I try not to be unfair, but there have been times when I've been accused of it because one of my staff got to go to a conference that I paid for, and it came up later that one of the other staff thought they deserved to go and thought I was being unfair. And I was trying to do the best I could under the circumstances. I tried not to play favorites, but I know that perception may be there now. And as far as if anybody thinks I'm a jerk, well, I'm sure there's some of them out there. So you see, I'm guilty of some of this stuff on the left side of the ledger. How about you? I hope not. And I hope the whole idea is to work towards being the best manager we can, but it's not easy. There's a lot of things you have to consider. And one of them is that you're making some big transitions right now as you become a new manager. For one thing, you go from working with things to working with people. And that's a whole different ballgame because people, unlike things, are crazy. Have you noticed? They have private lives, they have emotions, they have all kinds of crazy stuff going on in their world, and so they can be unpredictable and sometimes frustrate you. For example, let's say you have two people working in your office who are both good at their jobs, but you notice it's a man and a woman, and you notice they're showing all the signs of falling in love. They gaze at each other a lot. They tend to hang out at breaks a lot. They go to lunch together. They come to work and go home together. Uh, and now, let me ask you: is it okay uh, for people to fall in love at work? Well, actually, it doesn't matter because they're going to do it, whether it's okay or not. And as long as they maintain a professional demeanor, yeah, I guess it's okay, right? But you notice they're not maintaining a professional demeanor. They're flirting with each other in meetings, and they're holding hands in the hallway in front of customers, and they're taking long lunch breaks. And when they come back, they're kind of disheveled. And so you figure you better do something about this, right? So you sit them down and you just give them a heads up and say, look, I don't want to interfere in your private life. What you guys do outside of work is up to you. But when it affects the work, I need to say something, and it is affecting the work. People are beginning to notice. So I'm going to ask you, when you're here, please maintain a professional demeanor. And they look you right in the eye and say, yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. How long do you think that commitment will last? To lunch? Well, actually, if they're very professional, that's all you need to do is just give them a heads up. But wait till they have their first fight. Then they won't want to talk to each other. They won't want to be in the same room with each other. They won't work on committees together. And the air around them will just be thick with apprehension. And wait till one of their spouses finds out and shows up at 10 in the morning saying, what do you mean she called in sick? She's not home. You see, this happened to me. I mean, I was a supervisor in the situation. But my point is that people can be unpredictable and they got crazy situations going on. And you kind of have to go with the flow sometimes and be understanding, but be able to also draw the line. And that can be tough because you're working with people. Also, when you're working with things and or you're just doing your job, you're responsible for yourself. what time you get to work, what time you go home, what the timeline is on your projects, how you're making progress, all of that stuff. You're responsible for you. Now, as a manager, you're responsible for them in terms of their results, because your success does not depend on you doing anything anymore. It depends on them doing what you need them to do. And so you're responsible for them now. And that's a whole different purview. You also go